Let's just take a look at what it means in terms of the coalitions. At this juncture, we're talking about the Kenya Kwanza, UDA and the likes, and of course Azimio. Hesbon, if I can begin with you. From that number, we saw that 149 of them, of that parliament, so far, is painted yellow. 141 is painted blue for Azimio. And we have like 13 others that include smaller parties as well as independent candidates. We have around 46 seats that are not yet confirmed. How does that look like for you, even as we wait for the rest?
Well, I think it gives a very interesting picture in terms of the power balance at the National Assembly. It basically tells you that the two major coalitions will probably have equal footing in terms of numbers, and that essentially is a good thing for Kenyans. It may not be a good thing for whoever wins the presidency, but I think for Kenyans it's a good thing that no one side of the coalition, if whichever side wins, will push through any legislative agenda that is not popular, with all the representatives in the National Assembly. So it's going to be a question of if it's a good legislative agenda that is pushing a policy that is good for Kenyans, right, then they have to converse, they have to have dialogue across, the divide in the National Assembly. Mm-hmm. And that's basically what you'd want in a National Assembly, where it is ideas that contend, and members of the National Assembly push ideas on the basis of to what extent those ideas are of significance and benefit, right, to their people.
Let's look at various permutations, Ishmael. If let's say Azimio was to win the president, that is the Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga was to win the presidency, so far, given how that parliament is shaping up, would he have to do more handshakes in terms of lobbying and coalitions inside the parliament?
Yeah, you see, Ben, thank you. Working on the history of the conduct and behavior of members of parliament, I don't think any of the two leading lights needs to worry at all. In fact, if a winner goes to parliament with less members of parliament than the opponent, it should not be an issue if he is actually sitting in the State House. That should never be an issue. He will get these people. He will do some kind of negotiations and call it whatever, whether it's you buy them out, you bribe them, or whatever you do.
They usually call it lobbying.
I know.
What if you have a very strong, not opposition, minority?
Yeah, if you have a very strong minority, like in the case of if Ruto were to lose this one, I mean, he has very, very strong and staunch supporters who probably may not be bought easily. But the truth of the matter, Ben, if a person wins elections in this country and becomes the president, he has the wherewithal, he has a lot of power in terms of convincing whoever he wants to convince. Mm-hmm. And you look at what happened recently in Parliament, in Senate, in the City Hall, it points to the fact that the winner has a lot of power. But Ben, you addressed something very important also. I just want to mention that what is the real meaning of these two having half-half? Mm-hmm. For me, number one, it actually gives the supporters, it gives the country a bit of a healing factor, like you haven't won everything anyway. Tuko sawa, both of us are equal. So that's one other thing. And lastly, in terms of healing after the elections, in terms of having winning half and losing half, right, it gives the Kenyans that feels
from the truth, looking at what President Uhuru Kenyatta has done. But be it as it may, I think there's a sense in which you see a problem. It's not an IBC problem, it's not a Kenyan problem, but I think it's a problem that is engineered by politicians. They've placed so much premium on these contested, political offices, especially the presidency, such that during the campaign period, it's a question of do or die. Once people have voted, it's a question of we have won. At the end of the day, we ask ourselves, so what does this win exactly mean? Because it is so contested that it gives the impression that the win is a question of life and death. So if you're an Azimio supporter, you are out there thinking that we have to win this at all costs. If you're a Kenya Kwanza supporter, you are out there thinking we have to win this at all costs. And I think it's a question of how do we, first of all, ensure that power is distributed so that whoever wins does not become the winner takes it all. And, you know, those are very critical conversations that can be addressed constitutionally. But because power is, as it is right now, very powerful, you know, we have a very powerful presidency, we may want to ask ourselves, how does it, you know, occur to us that we contest the tallying, but we are very good during the electioneering process, voting is okay. Then when it gets to tallying, you know, there's just a conundrum there. There's a problem, and everyone is held hostage. I mean, from Tuesday, no one is doing anything. I'm told even Kenyans, if you want to do a Zoom meeting with a Kenyan, it is impossible, you know, because they can't concentrate, no one is doing anything. And I think it's how do we then just deal with the whole process of tallying? Because everything was okay until the tallying started. You know, and you know, IBC talks about it's a very transparent process, even the media can tally. But it has given people an opportunity that causes anxiety, because you're waiting for IBC to give us the verified results, but they gave the media and they gave everyone the opportunity to tally. So what happens is there is misinformation everywhere. You know, if you are an Azimio sympathizer, when you go online, you're looking for anything that gives you a glimmer of hope that you're winning. Yeah. If you're an UDA sympathizer or Kenya Kwanza sympathizer, the same thing. And then we are not sure of people who are spewing this information. So you go online right now, you get Excel spreadsheets showing that William Ruto is winning. You get others showing that Raila Odinga is winning. And it's so confusing, and it raises that anxiety. And the question that I keep asking myself, is there a cure to this process? Is there a way we can deal with this process and just ensure that after voting, the tallying is so transparent and expedited in such a way that no one can infiltrate our public spaces with information that is not true?